Oh, huge. If every decision needs sign off, then you're really not building a team. You're not building resilience. You're amplifying your risks. I think if you spend time on a decision framework, a control framework, an escalation framework, and proper KPIs, but I'm also a big fan of not measuring too many things and not getting into the analysis paralysis mode. But look at what matters. You can have a framework on when to escalate, why to escalate, and also it's okay to give us that safety net saying we will fail. Okay. Now, don't fail twice, fail smartly, be smart about where you fail and learn. More importantly, how are we tracking our learning? How are we adapting our learning? And that's super important. If we can create that space, I think you will start seeing as a CTO, you went from working over 100 hours to 40 hours by putting systems design thinking and operationalizing the execution of that. That's such an interesting concept. If we apply that, it will start working. It might take time, but it'll start working.
Yeah, processes are important, even when it comes to how you lead a department. But what I've done, you talked about failing, and you've said that AI can fail quietly before it fails loudly. So what does quiet failure look like in practice inside of an enterprise?
Oh, AI amplifies your data risks. First of all, you have to understand what your data risks are. AI definitely amplifies your data risks, and AI on its own brings its own risks. And my point there was AI amplifies your bad and ugly parts. And when something does happen, an incident happens, it's going to be disastrous. Okay. One of the things that we've learned very early on is many people were jumping and using AI systems without really protecting the data, without having any kind of governance, without having a proper classification and labeling. And the result was bad because it was exposing data left and center. People who didn't have access to the data were able to see some sensitive information, and it was leading to all kinds of legal issues. And of course, then you have your shadow IT issues, and I can go on, but the AI definitely amplifies your risks.
So what gets rationalized as normal implementation friction, but it's actually systemic risk?
Again, everybody thinks that typically they not going through and understanding where your risks are. For example, when we take any of our customers on AI journey, we start by asking simple questions on their to understand their preparedness, their maturity in terms of thinking. Then once we feel like they're okay, or we get them to a point where they understand why they need to do this and they have a framework to start executing it. The typical rationalization of things that don't work is again jumping in and doing it quickly and not really putting the thought into protecting their data, having the right data quality and data assurance. Because AI is only as good as in the context and the data that you provide. Even outside of data, the word that I use, context, right? Most companies don't understand that AI needs the context. The better context, the better AI is going to work. Most companies don't understand the risk that AI themselves are going to bring to the table, whether it's hallucinations, whether it is bias, whether it is any other risk that I can go on and quote 4 or 5 more easily. And you gave an example saying, hey, if I build a custom chat GPT, it's want me to do one thing and it does a good job if I tell them that's the context. You're setting the context, you're training it and you're specifying it and saying, okay, this is you do this for me and this is your context. And it does a great job. And typically they don't do that. And therefore, what happens is it's a mediocre AI and you're building your technical slop along the way. And you're going to have to deal with this technical debt and technical slop if you don't do it the right way, because it's going to come and hit you later.
I want to talk about the inflection point, like when you realize that the old operating model can't scale and more approvals isn't a strategy, right? So you mentioned the custom GPTs, and I did as well. And one thing I think people need to learn about those things is that, hey, try looking at the instructions of one of those and seeing how detailed the prompt is for that. And I think pretty quickly people realize that they're not using ChatGPT the way it should be used. So I don't think that human in the loop is necessarily inherently wrong, but when it becomes the default, it usually means the organization never built some kind of trustable decision rails. So the leader becomes that rail. So what's the moment when leaders realize, Move fast and fix later doesn't work for AI in regulated or critical environments.
Oh, it definitely does not. You cannot move fast with AI. And because, as I said, the risk of a consequence within an AI system or AI enabled system is far greater than the traditional legacy systems. Okay. So you can definitely can do that and can't risk it. I'll give you an example. So recently, we're building lots of AI agents and platforms that are enabled by AI agents. And everything that we build, it goes through very rigorous security testing. Okay. So we work with the security teams and say, hey, I'm building this set of agents. Can you please test them? And there's a process that we were going through to get that testing done of the platform we're building. And then we realized that we can't keep doing this every time we change the platform and have the same level of effort in the security testing. What we did was we said, okay, let's think differently. Let's really understand everything that goes into security testing and create an AI agent for that. And we did, and we applied that to the platform. But then once the AI agent does all the security testing, that report would go to security. Someone in security team, someone is still saying, looking at it and going, okay, this looks good, or no, I want more information on this one. And they're going and saying like, yes or no. And we instantly reduce the time from it taking some security testing taking weeks to days. And that's the one example of how you can eliminate, okay, I need continuous approval touch points. Everything has to go through someone to things need to go to someone when they matter. And we can build AI intelligently up to that point. And the human in the loop, as you rightly said, should matter. If everything goes through human in loop, then it's not an AI system, just still in a traditional system, legacy system. That's what it was.
So, what part of the organization typically tries to patch it with process instead of fixing the system?
Oh, it's interesting. I've observed two big themes in the last few years. Typically, the security and IT conversations were siloed, afterthought. What's interesting is businesses want to adopt AI and therefore they want to go aggressive. They want to start using AI. And so either they're doing it now because they feel like, okay, I'm gonna be able to do more with less or whatever is the agenda and not really bring in the security into the mix. Okay. So that's one thing I've seen is businesses wanting to embrace AI, but ignoring or sidestepping governance and security. Okay. That's time and again is where they fall into the trap.